Okay, thanks. Cool.
All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It is November 27th, 2023. It is 6:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Gokenhour.
Here.
Mrs. Cooper.
Here.
Mr. Lawrence. Absent. Mr. Ribo.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
All right, we've got 5 members of the commission here tonight. We do have a public hearing tonight. This is a rezoning for Eagle Creek Highlands. And we're going to open this particular public hearing now. What I will do is, do we want to do swearing in first? Have the stenographer swear them in?
Sure.
Okay.
You want me to give a little speech?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good evening. My name is Vic Whitney. I am counsel for the commission here this evening. As the mayor, the chairperson had indicated that this is a public hearing. Because of that, everything is on the record, is being recorded right now by the stenographer. So if you have any interest in speaking tonight, or whether as an applicant or as a member of the public, and you think you may speak, in a moment, I would ask that you all stand and we'll have the stenographer swear everybody in since it's a public hearing. The chairperson will call you if at the appropriate time, if you wish to speak, to come up to the lectern. We ask that you state your name and your address clearly on the record so we can hear it, because again, it's being recorded by a stenographer. For any reason you have a concern about providing your address out in public, you can provide it to one of the staff members over here. Please, but again, because the stenographer is recording everything, the commission may ask you questions or not, but we want to make sure that we're speaking just at one at a time. Let the commission ask any questions that they're going to ask before you begin responding. And please direct all of your comments or questions or statements to the commission and not to other persons. That's the direction this hearing goes. So if with that said, if anyone believes they may testify tonight on the record of this public hearing, please stand. By standing and being sworn in now, that doesn't mean that you have to testify, but if you may testify at all or you think you might, please stand at this point in time so that you're all sworn in. Okay, thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will present will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So Mayor, I guess the first item on the next item to do here is I've got several documents marked as exhibits, and I would move to admit them into the record. Initially, first here I have marked as Exhibit A, binder with 20 tabs in it, which is labeled Eagle Creek Highlands Rezoning Application and Development Plans. I have marked as Exhibit B, the public notice that was posted and was sent out to the affected property owners. And then I have marked as Exhibit C, a 4-page document that is the mailing and the proof of mailing to the affected property owners. So at this time, I would move to admit those into the record.
Accept those as into the record. And our process is going to be, we're going to ask the applicant to come up and present to the commission, and then we will open it up for public comment for those who have been sworn in. Mr. Fisher?
Is on? Is on? Great, thanks, Mayor, members of the commission. David Fisher, Kephart Fisher here on behalf of the applicant. I've also got Matt Callahan and Jim Hiltz here from Pulte Homes, the applicant, and Gary Smith, our land planner from G2 Design. So hopefully we get a full complement here tonight to answer any questions you may have, address any issues. The easy way to explain this is Eagle Creek 2.0, to use modern parlance. If you recall, we were before you a number of months ago to review an application and receive your approval and recommendation to City Council on a project directly north of this one, known as Eagle Creek. This project is known as Eagle Creek Highlands, will be the same developer, Pulte Homes, developing homes in here. A lot of similarities. You'll notice if you've gone through the text and materials, you're going to see a lot of the same thing you saw before. The major differences are a few more variations in lot sizes, a few more variations in the proposed homes and architecture, a little bit different product mix here. And to the extent you have questions about that, I am sure that the folks from Pulte can answer those questions for you. This has a very good open space plan to it with a lot of amenities for the neighbors. At the request of the city, through some negotiations, discussions we've had over the past few months, we have made this neighborhood subject to the same homeowners association as Eagle Creek to the north, which means all of these residents from both neighborhoods share all these amenities. You're going to notice you go through the package, a lot of things like a splash park and pickleball courts, a lot of open space and areas. Once again, that's here in the southern end and the northern end. All those fields and such that you approved a few months ago are also available to these residents. It's important to note because long-term, one of the things that makes a neighborhood viable is their ability to afford all of the amenities and open space we provide for them. So by having all of these residents share in these costs, you spread the costs and therefore lower the costs overall for everybody. As I said, some of the lot sizes are a bit variance from before, but all in all, this plan is almost a carbon copy of Eagle Creek to the north. You'll note that our paths and such connect all the neighborhoods, both the north and the south. We also provided a connection to the south for a road right away if should the property to the south of us ever develop. We're in the process of negotiating a memo of understanding with the county with respect to, and the city with respect to any roadway improvements that will need to be made out on 3Bs and a K. We suspect that those will be similar to what you saw for Eagle Creek. I saw on the write-up from the city today that Mr. White has already signed off on the MOU for the city. So at this point, we're waiting for the county to sign off on that. Had a call from Mr. Bream and Mr. Whitney today, reminding me that when we finally do get a memo of understanding and a traffic study done with the county, that we, at that point in time, will do a development agreement to call for the right-of-way improvements and some reimbursement for those. In our text, we have already committed to all that. We've also committed to joining the new community authority that's already established over in that part of town. So once again, a lot of similarities between this project and Eagle Creek to the north. What I'd suggest at this point in time is that Gary Smith kind of go up and go over the kind of changes in the plan. So if you have questions on those, we can address them. And once again, our entire team is here to address other questions or issues you might have or the public might have. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, David. Good to see you all again. Gary Smith, G2 Planning and Design, 720 East Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio. As David mentioned, this is pretty much, statistically speaking, a carbon copy of Eagle Creek. One of the things that we did early on in this process was we took all of the things that this body and our team negotiated through the first process and essentially wrapped it into this phase 2, Eagle Creek Highlands. And so if you want to pull up that first slide. So this really is just kind of a highlight of the existing property. As you can see, it's primarily farm ground now with a few tree rows. It just borders the existing Eagle Creek to the south. It's a mix of 4 properties. And so the original Eagle Creek, if you recall, was about 85 acres, just a little shy of 85 acres. This property itself is 86 acres. If you head to the next slide. So this is kind of a representation of the site plan and ultimately how it ties into the existing Eagle Creek development. And so if you remember, the existing Eagle Creek development right here to the north, I don't know if you can see this, maybe I'll step over here, but had our large park that we created. There's 2 pavilions in the athletic fields. You recall that conversation, and then we had some open space here where we preserved a pocket of trees that were existing on the site. And we're essentially going to be connecting to that road network in 2 spots, here and here. And then we'll have one main entrance out on the 3Bs and K here. So we'll share entrances and access for fire, emergency services, and also access for, sidewalks and connectivity between the parcels. And so this project, if you remember, the original Eagle Creek was 232 lots. This one's 239. The density on the original Eagle Creek parcel was 2.75 units an acre. This is 2.78. Open space is relatively similar. The open space for the original Eagle Creek project was at 36%, but if you recall, that also included a large portion of property that kind of extended down here, back behind this project. And so, but this project incorporates 26% open space. And from a lot size mix, it's very, very similar again to the existing Eagle Creek. We have a mix of all lots are 130 feet deep. We have a mix of 52 foot, 54 foot, 56 feet, and 60 feet lots, just the same as we had essentially in the last project. The real difference is in really kind of the layout and some of the amenities. I don't know if you want to hit the next slide. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight on this slide is just kind of the overall layout and the network of mixed-use trails through the project. So if you remember, we had a lot of mixed-use trails through Eagle Creek, essentially that ran into the parks and some of the open spaces and ran up in some of these open spaces, and then a large trail network that kind of connected back around here. Those are all being connected to the path network, essentially through the development, through the open spaces, and to the central amenity space, and around also to the dog park. And so anybody in either side of the development can get either the network or the sidewalk network pretty easily to any of the open spaces on foot or on their bicycle. So again, pretty easy to get around the community. Lots of opportunity for people to get out and walk and exercise, and also to meet up in any of those existing open spaces. This also kind of gives you a breakdown of some of the different lot sizes and ultimately where they're located. If you drop one more slide. So this is just really a representation kind of the entry feature. The entry feature is actually going to be very similar to the entry feature that we designed for the original Eagle Creek. It should look pretty much the same. Actually, if you go back to that last slide real quick, I wanted to mention one other thing. Because of the way that the site kind of slopes from the freeway towards 3Bs and a K, one of the things that we were able to do is essentially aggregate all of those ponds kind of out along 3Bs and a K. And effectively what that's done is essentially given us almost a 300-foot setback from 3Bs and a K from the existing houses. So there's an extremely large buffer both on the site to the north and the site here. But those first few houses coming down Street A, those are the closest houses, those are the sides. Essentially from the road, they're about a football field away from the existing road. So as you're traveling through Bs and a K, what you're primarily going to see is those ponds, and the open space, and then kind of the houses in beyond that. So let's go back down again, if you would. One more. So this is kind of the central open space, the amenity feature. This is aside from kind of the dog park that we also have. This is where we have most of the activity features on the site. And so you can see this, we incorporate a number of things. We have a top lot and a playground on the original Eagle Creek. We've also incorporated one here. But the other thing that we've incorporated in here for the use of all the residents, both in the north and south, is a splash pad. And so this, you've kind of seen splash pad parks in other places before. This would be very similar. It's got a number of different features where water kind of sprays out You can run through, the advantage to this is you don't have to have a lifeguard or, take the additional risk of someone drowning. So people of all ages can enjoy it. Both infants with, parents with their infants, young kids, teenagers. It's a great way to kind of cool off in the summer. And it's a good place to take your kids. We've also incorporated a shelter. That shelter, right now, I think we're anticipating that shelter will have restrooms and, incorrect, just let me know. And then some pickleball courts as well, which is, as many of you probably know, is one of the kind of the fastest growing sport. I don't know if they consider it a sport. I'm assuming they do. It's one of the fastest growing sports in America today. Very highly in demand. And so we've incorporated a lot of really nice amenities into this as well. And if you go one more slide. And then from an architecture standpoint, you can kind of cycle through these if you want. One of the things that you'll notice is these houses, again, architecturally, product wise, they're very similar to the houses that we had in Eagle Creek. And so, our goal again was to really design a very complementary extension of the Eagle Creek project to bring in a lot of connectivity through the mixed use trail network to create some additional amenity opportunities that both sides could ultimately share. So we have some complementary amenities on both north and south. And to bring in, again, a similar level of architecture. So this feels like one overall cohesive community. With that, happy to open it up to any questions that you guys have.
I'm going to make one more point. There's a list of divergences that is exactly the same as the divergences requested on Eagle Creek. And in the staff report, I think your staff has reported back on all those with some comparables from other projects we've done. So once again, a refresh of Eagle Creek as it relates to divergence requests.
Thank you. All right, we're on to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak with the commission? If so, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. Any public comment? Come on.
Hi, my name is James Howlett, 1544 South 3 Beasley Road. I have some concerns. What is the future of the width of 3 Beasley Road? Currently, there's no berm on that road. What is going to be the impact with the added homes that are going to be added? With the addition of the ponds, is that going to shove the road to the west? That's a concern. The road, their entrance currently, what I'm seeing, runs directly into the front of someone's house. So all of the traffic that you see leaving the complex is going to be at night. It's going to be shining lights in their houses. I'm concerned about the impact on the school district. How many more schools are they going to have to build?
Thank you, sir. All right. Would anybody else like to speak with the commission? Are we ready to close public comment? Is there anybody else? All right, I'll move to close public comment and also make a motion to close the public hearing. Second by Mr. Riva. Discussion, roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Riva.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Gokenhour,
Yes.
Ms. Miller. 5 yeas, motion approved.
All right, we are on the commission review rezoning Eagle Creek at Highlands. We just heard the applicant present. Is there anyone that would like to hear them present anything else? Or do you have any questions and would like to open this up? We also have the staff report.
I had a couple easy questions, I think.
Okay.
On the blueprints or the plats that we have, it says the township of Berkshire. Is this not annexed? Then why is it still listed? It has city of Sunbury too.
It's in both. It's the type of annexation that it was.
Okay, so it's a both, okay.
Correct.
Then on the variances on specific off-street parking requirements. It says that there's no off-street parking areas proposed, but I thought the last time we heard the presentation, off-street parking was where the new reserve with splash pad and everything was.
Which page are you on?
I'm on page 16.
Tab 2, page
Mhm.
16.
I think I can answer that. No, I think what we talked about, and somebody correct me if I'm mistaken, but we have some pull-off parking spaces for the mailbox areas, but one of the things I think we primarily discussed was that we're going to allow parking on one side of the street only, opposite the fire hydrants. And in this case, what we can do is put the fire hydrants on the house side of the street so that you could have full parking access around the park, parallel parking spots around the park.
So is that not called off-street parking?
I think what
It's on-street parking.
yeah,
Yeah.
off street would be like a parking lot or.
Yeah. We did not want to have an asphalt parking lot kind of in the center of this, open amenity area. For one, we would hope and would anticipate that a lot of people will walk, with their children here. And the few people that do bring their cars would have ample parking, kind of around the outside.
We also can find that there will be off-street parking, I think section 16, for the model homes and for the mail kiosks. But once again, those can't be determined until we have approval from the building, so it's not where they're.
All right. Any questions or comments for the applicant?
I got a quick question. The structure that's at the bottom right of the current slide, is that a home?
This down here,
Yes.
that looks like, it's a cell tower. So, Joe, good question. We did add this stub road down here, but there is a double strip because the cell tower owns all the way back up previous, okay? But in anticipation of someday, just maybe I'll connect down here, we can read this road in here.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Any other comments from commission? Those questions? Okay, staff, do you want to highlight the staff report? Looks like it was put together from Alex and Dan. Would you guys mind highlighting the report, please?
I'll go ahead and take that. It was a bit unusual because, as we've referenced a couple of times, it's almost a carbon copy of the previous one. And I don't really have much to add, if anything, to what they've gone over. The only, I guess there's one typo I noticed on here on pages aren't numbered. Under PRD development text number 1, it references that one of the lots will be platted but will remain unsold as a temporary emergency access. That's not true. That's just from the previous. That was a reference from the previous submittal, so you can strike that from your memo. The densities are very similar. Only real difference is the one different lot size. The divergences are all in line with what was stated before. The setback is from the rear yard is 35 feet, except there's an additional 10 feet allowed of encroachment into that setback for patios, decks, that sort of thing, which is appropriate and common, and also exactly the same as Eagle Creek, what I refer to as Eagle Creek 1. I honestly don't have a lot to add to that. Alex, do you have anything?
Now, the only thing I'll add is it's very similar, as a lot of the notes say, to what we did previously and a lot of what our new subdivisions look like as well. Looking at Price Ponds, Rolling Hills, there's a lot of similarities between what this is, Eagle Creek 1, and now what Eagle Creek Highlands is as well. So a lot of the same kind of divergences is what they're looking to do.
All right, and then I heard reference to a traffic impact study still needs to, we need an MOU, I think, between the developer, ourselves, and the county.
Thank you. I was going to mention that, there is a TIS. The applicant has discussed the TIS with myself and with the county engineer's office, and they've had phone conversations with the county engineer. I would anticipate that would result in some widening of 3Bs and K near the entrance with the turn lane. And to reference the comment about the ponds will not have any impact on the roadway. They'll be offset from the road and won't push the road. But the traffic impact study memorandum of understanding will study the entire area at no build, and then at a future point in time and indicate what impacts will be made by the project and how that would be accomplished or accommodated with improvements to the roadway. I would guess that we would, as soon as this is over with, we'll probably get with the county engineer and move forward with that.
And those aren't really recommendations, those are mandatory
They are.
improvements, and those will be made.
That is correct. You go through the traffic impact study and develop what the impacts to the roadways would be anticipated to be based on the number of housing units. And the traffic engineer will determine that impact. Based on the impact, he'll determine what improvements to the roadway would be necessary to alleviate those impacts.
Right. One thing not just one thing, but I did agree with the gentleman on the egress out. There is going to be a house directly across the street, and I recall we added some sort of mounding or buffering on Eagle Creek 1. Like to just get a commitment that can be done for this particular project.
His name is Albert.
No, it is not.
I got the first name, the last name.
How?
Yes, we'll work with, just like we did on Eagle Creek, we'll work with some mounting and buffering on that number across the street, so screen headlight there. And with respect to his other question about previous day, as Mr. White pointed out, all that will be addressed in the traffic study with respect to the requirements for improvements on previous day.
Any other comments from the commission?
In regards to the same thing we're talking about here, Mr. Howell's main concern, I think, was when and if they decide that widening needs to be done on 3Bs and a K, will that encroach in the current homeowner's property, or are they pretty much safe to say their front yard's going to stay the same?
Excuse me, just have a cold. It would be accommodated within the right of way. Most likely,
So most likely it'll go into their front yards.
it will be within the public right of way, which is not actually their front yards, but yes. It would be within what is currently green space in front of their lot. It's within the right of way.
That's a county road.
It is.
And they would make the determination on it, if widening, if curbing, things like that.
That's correct. Drainage.
So if they lose their right of way to road, does that right of way continue to encroach into their yard then?
Right of way stays
Stays
right
there?
where it is.
That's public property. I mean, just so we're clear.
Yes.
Okay.
No different than in town, and
Right.
there's a right of way and I have to mow it. And
Exactly. Yeah. Up to the sidewalk. Yeah. Okay. Any comments? Mrs. Miller?
No.
Mr. Ribo? Joe, anything else?
No.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant whatsoever? All right. Any major reservations on the plan?
variances.
Divergences?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, I'll make a motion to approve Eagle Creek Highlands.
I'll second it.
Got a second by Mrs. Miller. Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Gokenhour,
No.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
4 yeas, motion approved.
You. All right, we are on to Commission review Eagle Creek, section 1A and 1B. Do we need the applicant to present on this?
Not unless you guys have any questions.
Okay, any questions on 1A and 1B? There were 2 exhibits in your handouts tonight. Alex, can I ask you, were there any material changes on 1A or 1B
Not that I believe, Dan,
versus what was originally approved?
originally.
Okay. This is, I'm just double checking. Is this final plat approval? Is that what we're doing here? Okay. All right. Any questions on this? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
We got a motion by Mr. Riva,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Rabbit,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Gokenhour.
No.
4 yeas, motion approved.
All right, we are on to Commission review price bond section 2 and 3, final plat approval. Same questions, Mr. Whited or Mr. Blankenship? Any material changes from what we originally approved on section 2 and 3?
There are not.
Motion to approve.
A motion by, yeah, go ahead. Question.
Who approves the names of the streets?
The county engineer's map department will approve their recommended or presented by the applicant, and then the county engineer goes through and makes sure there's no duplicate names present.
I noticed one is there going to be a trademark issue with the word Nike. I mean, I looked it up and there's no other word. I mean,
I think all of them would be trademark infringements if that was applicable, because it's like Callaway, Ping.
Okay,
Titleist,
so-
yeah.
Nike's
Like
also
all
a Greek
names.
god, so.
I put the others in places, so that was the
No,
fourth company.
Hilliard has Nike
Okay,
way.
I just saw that and I wanted to make sure that we weren't opening.
It's a valid question.
Yeah, I've seen other Nikes because there was the Nike missiles as well from the 50s. So there's no
Okay.
parts after release. Right.
I think we had a motion by Councilwoman Cooper,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ryba. Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit,
Yes.
Mr. Gokenhour,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes,
5 yeas, motion approved.
All right. All right, we are on to. I need to recuse myself. Commission review. Somebody call me in just a little bit. Thank you.
yeah.
See you downstairs.
On to Huntington Bank.
You want the presentation up again?
Me too. I see you down.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
With permission, I'll say 1 or 2 things while Alex is looking for the presentation. We worked with the applicant on the applicant's engineer on the initial engineering review and provided them comments. They responded on just a little over a week ago, which was not really a week ago because of the holiday. And we have reviewed it, but it did not finish that until very recently. I do have some additional comments, but I don't believe those comments, except for one item, I don't believe those comments would give any reason not to approve conditioned on final engineering review and approval. And I'll talk about what that additional item is when we get to the presentation.
1 second to load it.
So just a reminder to everyone is to again, my name is Lauren Marshall, engineers, go Boston College here. It's full of civil engineer record for this project. Just a reminder, it's at 221 West Cherry Street, targeted Kroger, then the Seminary Mills Park development, eight kids. And contribute.
You say thumb drive, maybe that will help. I don't have my password.
I'll take the pressure off of Alex and have a conversation. The wall around the dumpster, it was not on the original plan, and it faces Cherry Street, very visible. It didn't indicate what material that's made out, or whether any screening would be provided in front of that to kind of block the view.
As well as the grading lines, about, I believe, 4 feet or Cherry Street, so that will also.
Right.
And then, Austin does have the back piles on hand, so I'm sure that's bringing up now. But
What is the material of the wall?
It's CMU. Combination block. It's also 4 feet lower than the road is.
Right.
So it's partially obscured.
CMU with, I assume, some kind of decorative fascia on it, or?
I don't believe there's much ornamentation on the roadway side. We would expect an addition to whatever ornamentation would be required.
Okay. That would be my primary comment. There's some other ones too, which I can go over with you later.
I'll go to mine here, so Daryl's getting it from the thumb drive from them, so we can load it in here.
Any questions while we're waiting?
I actually had one, and since that area is where the turn in and out doesn't have a stop signs where they're coming straight in and out, with now having another egress onto that road, will that be something we need to consider?
so the entrance into the bank will be actually one of the service drives, so not the main one off of Cherry Street, but one of the internal drives inside of Kroger. So I'm not sure if there's already an existing stop sign there. I'll take the main internal drive from Cherry Street.
It's only a two-way stop instead of a four-way, and with, I didn't know if that would increase traffic and.
It would certainly be an increase in traffic. I don't know that would be enough to warrant an additional stop sign, but I'll definitely take that under advisement and discuss that with a pretty minor change if it is necessary.
Am I reading this correctly? There's not currently proposal to put a sidewalk along the service drive coming off of Route 37?
So once we have the plan, I can show you what the sidewalk will be, so I know we talked about that at the initial meeting last month. I will show you.
Okay. Okay, I'll put that question on hold.
But yeah, I didn't know you'll ask me to show you.
Well, if they can transfer it, I can't log into my email on here, so it kind of puts us in a box.
Don't we have a question about the screening for the rear entrance to that addressed?
The stripping to the rear entrance.
Yes. We had a question on that last time when you made the informal presentation.
We have an updated landscaping plan.
Okay.
Go over.
No problem.
Like we're close.
Yes. So you can
Here we
see it set up, on the next slide. There you go, the one after that, again, Block H, part of this Hungarian Mills Plaza. All right, so the few questions that we had. So again, the main changes are the addition of this trash enclosure right here. And then we will see the landscaping plan, how we're proposing to screen it from Cherry Street as well as from the Dairy Queen on this side. And then the question about the pedestrian pathway. So there's an existing pedestrian sidewalk right across Cherry Street. We're proposing to connect to the one that's at the parcel at Dairy Queen to go over. And then there's existing sidewalk at the Kroger gas station here. And then the one we're proposing to connect from the existing to our proposed is down towards the front of the building. So there will be a sidewalk here and then indicated pedestrian walkway across the drive here. And then this is all sidewalk for the front of the building. And then again, straight down to the proposed sidewalk place again. So that's where we're proposing for that sidewalk connection there, between the two sidewalks. So those are the main changes again. So just a little refresher, 19 parking spaces, 2 which be ADA compliant. It's a financial institution, an international bank with those 3 driveway lanes, with the hours being an ATM right through lane. Existing or proposed floor plan, there's no changes to this proposed floor plan. The landscaping plan. So this is our updated landscaping plan. As you can see here, we'll have more shrubbery and bushes along this trash enclosure here. Again, like also I said, there is a 4-foot difference between the height of Cherry Street versus where this trash enclosure is. So it's actually downward slope. So it'll also help screen that from the roadway. Along with these trees that are proposed. What wasn't shown is also an addition to the landscaping plan is one from here along Cherry Street. So there is the access right here for employees that we talked about last time. But now there's more landscaping to help provide screening from this front view. So just indicating that there, and then the rest of the landscaping is the same. There's also decorative landscaping around the signage along the internal access drive. There's this existing landscaping as well, and then landscaping around the internal drives as well. And like we mentioned, just as a refresher for zoning procedure wise, we did have the preliminary meeting with staff back in April. The Sunbury Mills Plaza, their architectural review board, they did approve the colors for the exterior elevations that we went over last time that are in a few slides from here. They approved those back in September, and then like Dan said, we did have one engineering review so far, and we did send back comments and now have more comments there. So if you want to switch to the next slide for me. So these are the architectural elevations from BoCon, the architecture record. Again, no color change or no major changes here. The main thing to point out, I know one of the questions from our initial review last month was the design of the buildings, how similar they are to the other Huntington National Banks. And BoCon did say that their elevations are similar to other Huntington National Banks since 2020. So they're similar in nature. The only change is the color of the brick, so that reddish brown brick. And that was suggested change from Sunbury Mills Plaza, their architectural review board. And like I said, we did approve that color. So those are the existing elevations. Yep, so then again, no changes here, same elevations of the canopy as well. These elevations don't show the updated landscaping plan, so there's gonna be more than just the issues down in the corner. So, yep. Yep, so these are from the different sides. Again, this is the view from Cherry Street, heading north. This is a view from Cherry Street heading south. This is on the inside of the drive, internal drive as well. So no proposed changes to those existing elevations. Those are the main comments that I had. Anybody have any questions for me, Austin?
The employee entrance, what type of material is that?
It's the same material as the proposed mechanical equipment. I believe you go back like 1 or 2 slides. It should be on there. I believe it's a fencing material. Yeah, one more.
Can you explain to me why it requires to have a fence around the employee entrance?
Yeah.
I'm thinking you might be looking at a different area. There is. Yeah, so that there is a shredding facility. They hire a private, my name's Austin, I'm an engineer record. They hire a private company to take their shredded papers away because of sensitive nature. So that is just a container. It gets picked up every 2 weeks.
So essentially you have 2 dumpster enclosures.
Well, this is a tricky thing. So we didn't have the dumpster enclosure on the first round because between when we presented the last time and we presented this time, they signed a national contract with Rumpke. And so now we're kind of playing catch up, trying to incorporate dumpsters on a lot of projects, even some that are already under construction. So it's a really tricky situation that we're in right now. So we have to meet the current standards for Huntington, but we also have to meet the standards for when the facility will open. So those two have different requirements. So right now we're showing both. If I were to predict, I would predict that the trash enclosure would be constructed and ultimately the shredding facility would not.
This is the main view that everybody coming and going through Sunbury is going to see. And to me, it looks very much like a back of a building, which it is. I personally feel it needs to be more dressed up. If you're going to have a entrance, it needs to be a glass door per se. If you're going to have an enclosure attached to the building, I would propose it be a part of the building, be brick, not some other material other than brick. Those are just my thoughts.
It's like the back is kind of the front, but it's the back.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, we made everybody else dress up their back fronts.
So you're talking about the door that looks like a garage door.
That is an enclosure, a trash enclosure.
Okay, I thought it was garage door.
Fencing. And I don't like the fact that you don't have a sidewalk going along the service drive, because number one, you're either going to have everybody walking through your property, through the grass, creating a mud trail because they don't want to cut through your parking lot. Because that's what people currently do, is walk through the field. That's why I'm asking for a sidewalk through there.
So if we do go back to the,
I know you have one going through the parking lot, but I'm telling you, there's gonna be a lot of people who aren't gonna wanna walk through your parking lot to get from point A to point B. And they're gonna take the shortest route possible, which is through your yard.
right, well, there's also an existing sidewalk from Cherry Street going down here along the Kroger gas station as well. So putting one down through here, we would have to remove existing landscaping, and there's a column here as well to be able to bring it straight down.
I understand that, but again, everybody's gonna go from point A to point B, which is the shortest line.
I would make a comment, I guess, about people who are walking along the sidewalk, coming both from what's just called the east and the west. Are you feeling that they're going to cut here instead of coming here?
They're gonna cut through along the service drive,
Here?
service drive on the other side of your drawing there.
Well, I mean, again, anybody who's coming here would cut here. They wouldn't go past to then come back.
They're not gonna go through your parking lot.
I mean, I think that the issue here is that we can't disturb this piece. And based on the elevation fall that we have, we can't have this work over here on this side. You can see we've got a swale over here. We would have to have a more undulated path. So I think the city would have to be comfortable with losing this in order to mimic what they have on the other side. And I'm not certain that that would be a popular site plan alteration to make for us. At least in our preliminary discussions in April, we'd always discussed not touching that. So again, if you were to take a traffic engineer's standpoint, do a trip generation analysis, but do it on foot, my argument would be that based on the elevation change here, that I don't think many people would cut down there. It's certainly not inviting, and especially with our landscaping we have, cutting that off. I would assume that they would either use this or they would come here and here. So if you're asking where the people here are going, are they going to Kroger, or where is the primary point that they'd be going? Kroger, right, Kroger. So if you come over here, you see Kroger about here, if you're looking about this way. So this would be appealing for second time to the site. First time to the site, probably not. But once you've got your pattern down and you understand it, this becomes a more viable option. And then this option here is—
Can you show us on this screen too?
On screen. Yeah, so my point was that the first time somebody comes to the site and we're walking this way, you know, they're probably going to see Kroger about here. And there's going to be a little bit of obstruction with the building, even though it's lower. And so this is a very logical way for them to get down. And this actually connects in, fully connects. If they are the first time to the site coming this way, they very well may come across, or they may wander down here and do something like that. But I think the second time to the site, this becomes a more viable option. Clearly, this over here is well established. The pedestrians who are walking, again, we'll call it west on State Route 37, are going to go this way. So I'm just not sure, especially with the elevation change here, that people are going to cut through. And if you are able to go back to the landscape plan, you can see that we're putting a deterrent there as well. I mean, that is, you know, they're gonna have to crawl through some bushes to get down there. So again, I want to make sure we put forth the design that the commission can accept. So if you feel that additional deterrent is required, we can certainly extend this. We can do some berming up there. We have a little bit of flexibility with elevation. I'd certainly be happy to accept a condition like that.
Any other questions on that, Jim?
Nope.
Any questions, other questions from the commission?
So you said about that there's an elevation difference. So when you're driving along Cherry Street, the bank itself will sit lower.
Right, so it's 4 feet lower. That's also why the mechanical equipment also has that fencing around the top of it to help screen the top of the roof as well for the mechanical equipment, as you can see from here.
You go back to the landscape photo. I do like the idea of extending a little bit of the decorative or the berm or whatever into that corner, because then it does, somebody would have to purposely
Go through the bushes, right?
go on the bushes. They're more likely, if they don't do it there, they're least likely to do it further down. I do like that idea.
Any other questions, comments?
So, Mr. Chairman, if we just could clarify from a process perspective, we only have 4 members present. It would require a unanimous vote to advance the, right, okay. So keep that in mind. The other thing might be, it sounds like we've got a couple of conditions that they've said they're willing to accept. One is the CMU, a more decorative version of that. But there has been no response necessarily to that Cherry Street facing, screening. So maybe we would encourage the applicant to come back, having addressed that issue and the additional landscaping that you're suggesting, Mrs. Miller, to make sure that we are comfortable as a commission, because like I said, without a unanimous vote, it won't go through.
And to clarify, that's correct. It will go through because this is a recommendation,
Right.
but council would have to pass to modify the recommendation, to vote against the recommendation,
Right.
would require a 3/4 vote to change the recommendation. So yes, so if it's not unanimous here tonight, and they recommend that it's not approved, it will go to council. Council will be voting on it, but they would require 3/4 of their membership to not adopt the recommendation of this council and adopt the plan to approve the certificate. So yeah, just to clarify that.
And thank you for that.
Yep.
And to clarify, the mayor will be recusing himself of the council member as well. So, at 3/4 is a pretty high bar.
So, and that may be a question to the applicant. Again, I think if they were seeking to table this, I don't know. I mean, that's a way that could handle or not. I mean, I guess the applicant can make that request and then the commission may or may not grant it, but.
Mr. Hennessy, can you repeat those two? I know you said more bushes along that. What was the first one you said?
The other one was the issue that Mr. White
There's the sidewalk issue, the dumpster issue, the landscaping issue, the rear building.
Can you go over the dumpster issue?
It's the material, the dumpster.
Oh, that's screening the dumpster.
Correct.
Right now, it's the fencing.
It's the CMU.
Masonry block, correct?
And
Without
that's towards the front as you're looking from Cherry Street.
Yep, so it's this front corner.
And
Can we call it
That's a-
dumpster A and dumpster B?
Oh, shredding facility.
shredder and,
Right. this is
dumpster.
different story now, so this is the construction.
and as you have it now, you have it that fencing-ish material.
Now,
What-
have the Rumpke standard right now, which is concrete masonry units, it's just a block concrete wall. I would suggest as a condition that the materials of the trash enclosure would have to match the materials of the building.
Exactly.
That might be
Okay.
acceptable.
Yeah. Okay. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so sounds like we have a consensus on one thing. And I'm in agreement with Mrs. Miller, and you were in agreement that you would consider putting more bushes along the Cherry Street where you have some now. Just you would be willing to add more.
Certainly, and we can also put a berm in there, so we can go at a 3-1 slope unreinforced here. And right now, we're just kind of coming down at about a 10% slope, so we can come up and down to provide a little bit more of a deterrent for people to go through as well. So we can do some regrading up there on the street side.
Okay. And then what was that
was the aesthetics of the building facing the street, which
The door as well
is
as.
basically the entire front back. And in addition, those are big things. I've got some minor issues. I just want to make sure if you do move forward with it, that you reference that engineering conditions must be met as well. Minor issues that are on site.
do you have any thoughts on a possible different elevation for the front
So I can't speak for Huntington, but I can tell you the process we went through. Well, I think like all health nurses are, there was 10 criteria. We went through the approval process with the shopping center to eventually arrive at what we have now. And Huntington made concessions to accommodate their requests. A change in the elevation now would certainly take it back into that process again. And I think Huntington would not, they would struggle with that schedule, because we've been in the permit for a while now, so we weren't anticipating a lengthier process beyond that. So in my opinion, that's what would happen. Would they consider or make additional concessions? Possibly, but I can't speak for them directly.
Okay. I'll speak just for myself. The elevation doesn't bother me because it sits down. And you're gonna know by passing by Cherry Street, it's a Huntington Bank, and everything in that complex is facing in. And it's gonna look nice on the inside. That's my opinion.
I'll actually go ahead. My opinion is, I don't have a problem with the elevation. I would have a problem with fence material there. I would be open to other choices.
Like around the shredding
Yes.
area.
Yes.
So would you be okay with that matching the building as well, kind of like we discussed in the discussion fluid?
Yes.
Yes.
Same material, same color. And then the door.
What do you want with the door?
Something to match the other buildings. I don't think anyone has a door like that I can picture on
Well,
the
I'm
outside.
currently looking at Google Maps and I'm still a believer in there has to be a sidewalk along that service drive. Cause there's not enough elevation change to say that you can't put a sidewalk there. And I'm really questioning why the dumpster has to sit all the way out at Cherry Street and it can't sit more back equal with, let's say, the front of your building.
This is another bit from our friends at Brunk here. They require 110 feet of backup distance outside of it. I couldn't find anywhere else to put it. They wouldn't have it open up to the public way. So that's why I swear to this.
Alex, can you please go back to the elevation? I'm looking at the door
Yeah, from Cherry Street or
from Cherry Street.
We've constructed a number of these in this market. Is it worth pulling one up? You can see what the shredding enclosure looks like.
Yeah, do you have an address?
So it's Gemini Parkway. It's Lincoln Bank right by Polaris. And that would give you, it opened in 22. And our firm did the design on that project. It might give you a perspective.
Or did you say Gemini Parkway?
Yeah.
Polaris, okay.
There's a good Google Street view of it. I think you go through the entire parking lot.
As we're looking, I have a comment about the 4-foot elevation change that you keep referring to. I'm looking at Google Maps. And the only elevation change I can see that's even somewhat significant is from street level to the absolute lowest point of that field, which is the middle, if not closer to the Kroger parking lot. It's not like there's a 4-foot drop off the road.
The roadway is at 72 and the concrete construction post is at 68.5, so it's like 3.5 feet. It's very close to that. And the reason for that is because you can't make up any elevation across your finished floor of your building. So you take the median elevation and put your building there, and then it steepens up both sides, which is what's happening here.
I'm just trying to make this so it's not misleading. I mean, to say that that's going to make the difference in the view that you see, that's kind of irrelevant, in my opinion.
Well, when you have a wall that is 6 feet tall and it's 4 feet lower than the roadway, it certainly would change your perspective if you're either walking on the sidewalk or driving by. and your head is about 3.5 feet high when you're driving, and depending on how gifted you are with height, you know, it's a little bit different than that when you're walking. I think it does make a difference in the perspective. That being said, Huntington doesn't want this to look bad, and I don't want this to look bad. I mean, we're happy to put even denser landscape around so you can't see it at all. It's fine with me. It's not going to affect visibility or safety of vehicles. Again, we're happy to make a concession like that. If it would work. Yes. So this is the one. So it will be on the back side if you could get street view around the back. Yeah. There we go. So it's really an opaque screen. It's not fencing though. It's not like we're throwing some chain link fence around the building.
It looks like a propane tank enclosure.
It's worse than fencing, thank you.
You can't even see the door.
Is the door behind this too, do you know?
I believe in that version it was. I don't think we made a prototype modification that one. I'm traveling. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I can go further on it, but it's going to be.
Didn't we discuss the enclosure last time to be the same material as the
The building itself.
Yeah, that's what I thought we discussed last
And
time.
we've never known that it was a shredding area
Yeah.
until tonight. It's always been an employee entrance. And that's why I referred to it as an employee entrance.
And it is not considered to be an employee entrance. It's only the person who's taking and shredding out that's going to use that.
Yeah, I'm aware of that now.
And again, I would wager that doesn't get built. I think that we'll be doing enclosures on all projects and the shredding will go away.
So if it doesn't, could you put in a screening for the entire piece back there?
The
The door as well as where the shredding will be.
So extending the landscape,
Yes.
that's a lot more fun.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because that conceals both doors, and if they did that fake brick or whatever, the brick wall to match the things, you wouldn't notice them
Yep.
at all.
Does that work? For that?
For that, maybe.
But we're still on impasse for the sidewalk.
We make everybody put in sidewalks. Not through a parking lot. Not just them.
Alex, would you mind bringing up that area, the proposed area where this will go in, the Sunbury Mills complex, so we can see the sidewalks that are around there?
Yeah, overhead or do
This, yeah. It doesn't matter.
does this work?
We even made, Chase Bank, is that Chase there on the corner?
This is Chase right here.
We made them put in sidewalk coming in off of 36, 37 also. They didn't want to do that. But again, it's accessibility.
So is that a
I live
sidewalk
here and
then
I
coming
drive
off
through it every
that?
day. I go right
white
past that
building?
corner every day. I stop at the stop sign at that corner every day, and every day people cut through that field. And I know how human nature is, and people will continue to cut through, and they're not gonna wanna go through your parking lot. There needs to be a sidewalk.
Right, so the.
Great with me.
We have this existing sidewalk, right? And so with our proposed sidewalk, it will be approximately right here. With this extending along With the location of the trash enclosure as well as the other mechanical equipment and the landscaping, it'd be really difficult to put one right over here, like we talked about. There is that landscaping, so it really is up to the city to say if they want this to be removed in this corner, to be able to put one.
Can you zoom in right there? And pull it down just a touch.
The concept of proposing is very similar to what Gary did. If you notice, their situation here is exactly what.
But they weren't a corner lot. You're a corner lot. Then you can do the exact same thing they did on across the street at the gas station is my point.
We really can't because of this. Concept we discussed in April. If we can tear that stuff out, we can do it. We just can't keep it and put a sidewalk through it. The neighbors across the street were fortunate that they could put that sidewalk in at the same time as the trees and the monument were being installed. We unfortunately don't. We're coming in about 15 years too late.
Mr. Guggenheim, where would you like to see a sidewalk?
Parallel with the one across the street. On the gas station side. I can't understand why there can't be a sidewalk there when there
Alex,
currently
can you
is.
put the cursor over where he's talking about?
Yeah.
And you want it on where there's currently, what is that right
Your
there?
cursor down below.
With landscaping, there's also, purple wall.
Draw a line for
It's kind of like a.
where I want a sidewalk. Yeah.
It's on both sides as well. So you can see these like red thread here.
So you would like would you like that torn out or would you like it next to it?
I don't want anything torn out. I don't feel anything needs to be torn out, but people are not gonna cross the pork chop to get to the other side, to the gas station, to go down to Kroger. It's a moot point at this point. I'm against the world and I don't need to explain myself anymore.
It sounds like we're in agreement on other things though.
Yes.
Okay.
The sidewalk.
I honestly think the front / back of the building should not just have a steel door on it. I'm in agreement with that. I'm okay with the 2 enclosures if they have brick around them, not fencing. But I feel there needs to be a sidewalk on that side of the building.
If we're committed to demolish the stuff in the corner, we can accept that condition.
Hey, may I? Can you pull up the landscape plan real quick? Is there, I'm gonna point here, why can't, you don't.
Can we just
You have to
table
build
this
a
and come
retaining
back
wall,
to
you
it?
build a retaining wall, why can't you come down around and move this landscaping out and put that? Cause you said there's a swale right here, I understand that. This is an encumbrance, you can connect here, come around, right down along the edge of the parking lot there and connect into the sidewalk and they can cross there. And if you need to build a retaining wall, you build a retaining. Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn.
You're fine, thank you.
There's a program line that runs through there. I don't know what the both is.
Existing one or one that you're planning?
There's a current number right here. So
I got you.
So I don't think we can do that, unfortunately. Again, if we'll replace the trees in kind, but I don't see how we can get that through there and maintain the trees. So I could set the condition where we would return the corner to its current condition. But again, the neighbors built all this at the same time. And so it's very easy to put a sidewalk in and plant, little, 5-gallon little trees or whatever they were at the time, and put the monument in. But 15 years down the road, these are mature trees and we can't put all sidewalk through there. So we're permitted to demolish and put back as we found it, then we can accept that condition as well.
Would you like to table this and come back with another option for this?
Unfortunately, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone? Questions?
So just before any motion is made, we're in agreement that we'll do more landscaping up by Cherry Street, and that if there is a shredding facility, whatever, we'll do the same building materials, and it'll be the same building materials around the dumpster
That's the structure.
as a structure.
Yeah, I think the conditions that I heard was that, we would construct the trash enclosure of like materials to the building. We would increase the landscaping over here, at least extending it to here.
We can't see what you're I can't see what you're pointing at.
Well, we will construct the trash enclosure of materials similar to the building. We'll extend the landscaping at least here. Again, I've offered to place berming up here, which I will happily do. And then we'll accept a condition that we will extend the sidewalk down this side, considering that we're allowed to disturb this area in the corner, which we were intentionally trying to not disturb. Yeah, so I think I hear 3 conditions.
So just to recap, that is more landscaping around the dumpster side. The dumpster screening and the shredder screening will match the building. And the trees will be destroyed in the top left corner. They will be sidewalk put in, and then the trees will be replaced in kind up there.
We'll retain the services of certified arborists to determine what the viability is of keeping the trees and doing the work. And we'll disturb as few as possible in that area. But I think the condition needs to be formalized that we are choosing to make the accessible capital on that side. And that it may, destroy something that might even been built with public funds. I don't know if it was 15 years ago that could have been constructed by the city.
Mr. Guggenhauer, without any other option right now other than disturbing the trees, what's your preference?
I don't have a preference. I mean, I don't have a preference. I don't
You don't
understand
have
what
a-
you're getting at. I mean,
since there's no other options right now, would you prefer them to disrupt the trees that are there to construct a sidewalk? Or no
I'm not
sidewalk?
making that call. I already said that once. I'm not gonna make that call. That's not up to me. That's why I
Okay.
said this should probably be tabled, come up with a plan and then figure it out. And then we can vote on what we're actually voting on.
Well, we would need the applicant to request a continuation, and if they do not want to do it, which you said, correct? Then that would mean we need to take action with whatever action we're going to take.
I'm just not a Huntington employee. I'm just not authorized to do that. I completely understand what you're and the detriment to this project that this could be. I'm just not authorized to say that.
My big frustration is we talked about the sidewalk in detail the last time we met. And it's not there.
Yeah, the design that you see I put forth, and I put it forth strictly because I didn't want to disturb the area on the corner. And again, that was an early discussion. Kate, for the first time, Alex, we all sat down and talked about it again. That's the reason why the sidewalk ended up where it is. It was wholly my decision. I put it there. But it's a change of condition if we're allowed to touch what's in the corner, because that would allow for a sidewalk to mimic what's on the other side. Yeah. We just can't do both. We can't not touch a corner and or a sidewalk through it.
Did we get a motion from?
Could we get, in other votes we've done where we've authorized the city engineer to inspect the things makes sense? Could we do that with the sidewalk?
We could, certainly, if that were a condition that were acceptable or it were tabled and something to investigate.
So we could say, we want a sidewalk and we're leaving it to the city engineer to approve how it needs to get done. I'm just asking, what would our words be?
Well, that big a language, I think.
Okay.
To the extent a motion is gonna come tonight to approve this application, just in what I've heard, I want to make sure that whatever that motion is, if there are going to be conditions, we've talked about several of them, that we are specific as to what those conditions are. And then in that motion, and assuming there's a second and a vote, that way everybody here is comfortable as to what they're voting on. And then again, it will go one way or another to council, and they'll be able to vote on the recommendation that this is making as to whether this commission makes whatever it is. And so the record's clear as to what they need to do procedurally there, or what would be required procedurally there to approve or not approve. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
What would the timeline likely be for when this would go to council?
Well, I was just looking at that. I don't actually see a specific timeline in this area of the ordinance. So my, I guess my assumption would be at the next council meeting. I mean, there's no absent anything else. So.
Yeah, so December 6th would be the earliest.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
I will put on the floor, I move to approve the Huntington Development Plan with 3 caveats. One is the dumpster enclosure, looking at a material similar to the building. 2 is the shredding part fencing, be material similar to the building. And number 3 is additional landscaping along Cherry Street.
You just specify how far along. I've heard the term up to here used a couple times, just so we know exactly where up to here is.
All along Cherry Street.
Can you repeat those 3 conditions again, please? The landscaping along Cherry Street.
The dumpster, the fencing will be material similar to the building, and the shredding fencing will be similar to the building.
Okay. That's your motion.
Yes.
Okay.
One point of clarification on there is that shredded or the screening for the shredding also covering the door.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's not on the.
I was
so it was-
looking at, I was referring to the picture you showed us on Gemini where the screening covered both doors.
Is that motion understood?
Do you have that concrete enough that you'll be able to reflect it in? I think so.
I'll second her motion.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Ryder,
Yes.
Ms. Gokenhour.
No.
Votes yea, 1 vote nay, motion denied.
Let's just be 3-1. What did Vic did, what is that?
So procedurally, that would be, the recommendation or the application is not, the recommendation is that not be approved, is what I would say.
Like 3-1.
Yes,
And it will go to council
go to council.
Okay.
Mhm.
and they would have to vote
3-4.
which would be how many without the mayor?
So it's 3/4 of the amendment.
Your motion failed, no, because it's beginning of this, that and then you have to.
It does, but it's a motion, it's a recommendation. So the recommendation is not approved, yeah.
Yes. So 3/4 of 7 members is 5.25, so it requires 6 members. So.
So a unanimous vote of council. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you for working with us.
Good, thank you.
I'll call Joe.
So you can go get them out.
I'm calling him. Okay, we're done.
Oh, it's okay.
We could bring all the alcohol.
He's probably been across the street.
We'll bring it all over. We all deserve one now.
This one? Yeah. So that's disc, so I'm guessing.
It's the same people here, they can't make it.
Yeah, that's a should be right.
Because he said,
Yes,
he's not.
hold on, let's just go and see what
He
it
can't
is.
make those changes,
This guy.
and he has to give
Just be
me
this guy.
a yes or a no tonight.
That's why I went with,
Yeah.
that's why I went with the direction I went.
That's, I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Right, okay.
You can make them dress up the front too.
Where's our beverages?
Not even noted.
Mr. Mayor, got caught up on email. Are we ready? On to. We're on to the visitor section. Are there any visitors that would like to speak to Planning and Zoning Commission? All right, we're on to the minutes approval. Make it a motion.
I'll move to approve the October 23rd.
A motion by Mr. Ryba, second by Mr. Gokenhour. Discussion? Roll call.
Yeah, Mr. Ryba? Mr. Gokenhour?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Abstain.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
We're on to the zoning report.
Oh, that's not there. All right, zoning report from October 21st to November 24th. Nothing too crazy going on. The new zoning code amendment was passed by council. The new version is published on the zoning page of the website right now, if you guys all wanted to go see it. No Board of Zoning Appeals meeting this month. We did the final walkthrough of Rolling Hills Section 1 and Price Ponds Section 1. And then we reviewed some of the trees in some various states with an arborist to kind of get a good idea of what to look for when looking at these trees and how they're impacting the sidewalk and the area around them. And then he went over a couple of different alternative methods, not replacing them, but how to fix them or how to correct them more too. So we have that. And then just regular walking, driving around to observe conditions of the city. There was 2 residents who received grass and property notice conditions. We had 16 zoning certificates and 15 occupancy permits this month. Out of the 16 zoning certificates, we had 12 new builds, which puts us over our yearly total from last year. So we are at 138 for this year, and last year we had a total of 129. And then if you guys want to take a look at the building permits annually, that's exactly what that chart will show. And any questions on any permits, zoning in general? All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
We do have our next zoning meeting will be tentatively December 18th. If that works for everybody, just want to have a discussion on that because it is scheduled for Christmas. So if that doesn't work, do we have an alternative date in mind or anything that would work for the commission?
I will not.
Free on the.
I will not be here.
That works then.
Oh, that's just 2 people that won't be here. Did I hear a third?
Oh no, I forgot Lawrence.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Check with Dr. Lawrence.
Yep.
All right, did you say there was another date you had in mind, or is this?
I was just saying it was scheduled because fourth Monday was, or it was on Christmas, whatever the scheduled
Right.
one was Christmas, so we just moved it a week earlier.
Right.
Right now, we don't have anything for BZA, so the third week Monday would have worked good. So if that, I can check with John. If that doesn't work with him, we can potentially propose another day. If that doesn't work, we'll just postpone until.
Do we have business? already
Yes.
Scheduled?
We have a couple things on the agenda already.
All right, sounds good. All right, discussion, new business. Anything?
I had, Alex, when you get some time, I would really find it interesting to know how many houses we have versus how many apartments, kind of like we have 2,000 single family home.
I
Do
think
you?
I have that data.
That data somewhere.
Yeah, we just pulled that.
Yeah.
I mean, within the past 9 months. I get that. It's about a 78% or 80% single family. I think it's maybe 17% apartment, and the rest are condos or attached dwellings.
Does that include the ones that are in the
That's what,
mill?
no, do you want that too?
Yeah.
Alex?
We could add that to the number. I can get that information for you. I don't have it off the top of my head,
Just
so we can
whenever
get
you
that.
get it, give time.
That I can do.
Anything else? All right, tentatively, next meeting, December 18th. We'll confirm with Mr. Lawrence. If not, you'll circulate other dates to the commission.
That's correct.
All right,
Move to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Mr. Ryder,
Second.
second by Ms. Miller. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Rabbit,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yeah.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Gokenhour.
Yes.
All right. 5 yeas, motion approved.
We're adjourned. Thank you.